Hey everybody, what's up? I just wanted to get on here, and I'm sitting in front of this gorgeous Scotch pine tree, and I've really been speaking with the plants lately, the trees, and you know, their language is something that is so welcoming in my experience. They grow. They grow. What I was reading today was that I don't know what this was what I was reading in, but I was reading something today that was talking about how a tree begins from a seed, or I was watching a video. A tree begins from a seed, and that seed has all of the destiny of the entire tree, of the life of the tree. And it's all inside of that seed. And even as the tree grows and becomes the tree, and if it may lose leaves, when the tree loses those leaves, it still keeps going. And even when the tree dies, it falls and rots into the earth and creates really fertile soil for something else to grow. So it's just really beautiful how the circle of life goes on, And with trees, I really feel like they are miraculous, and they connect to that miracle energy. Plants in general, but trees specifically. And you know something weird about trees? Trees are all different. Like, they're not a part of the same family. They're just plants that have grown really big. Random plants that have grown really big. They're all different plants that have just happened to grown up like that. So that's pretty amazing to me. Isn't it? Like, wow. What was I saying before? It's working on getting used to my voice and getting used to talking to the camera too. Yeah, because it's time. It's time. Get some aquaphor here. That's better. But yeah, I've been without shelter lately, and it's been frustrating when it's cold out. As you can see, the weather's beautiful today. You can see these sun rays. It's gorgeous out. And it's getting warmer, and it feels better that it's getting warmer. And I was frustrated a lot at first because, I was cold. Basically, my feet were freezing and my hands were freezing. I got frostbite on my left big toe, and it's not nice. But anyways, one great thing about this experience, being without shelter, is that I get to make that shelter wherever I go. And where I am right now is in this beautiful garden. Look. Isn't it gorgeous? It's just a beautiful garden over here. It's gorgeous. And I get to make my home wherever I go. And I really feel like I'm on my turtle medicine because my home is on my back. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's something really sacred about turtles. I've been learning recently about the 13 moon calendar, and the fact that there are 13 moon cycles that happen in any solar year, which is amazing that happens like that. So the moon goes through 13 cycles of being new, which is today. Today is a new moon, by the way. To full. So from new to like quarter to half to quarter, or 3/4 to full, right? And then back to new. That's one cycle. So 13 of those are in the solar year, are in the solar calendar, 365 days. Now, there is turtle shell medicine in Native American history that a turtle shell, like just imagine a turtle shell. It has 13 scutes that are large, okay? 13 large scutes that symbolize the months themselves. And then it has 28 smaller scutes on the outside of the shell, which symbolize the days of the month. So there are 13 months of 28 days, which is so fascinating. And it's pretty fascinating to me that February is the only month in the Gregorian calendar that is accurate to that, you know? And it's Black History Month. Yeah, it's very interesting. But yeah, I've been visiting that and working with that. And with it being not the third week of February, because I've been researching the Igbo calendar as well. And the Igbo calendar goes off of 13 moons too. All indigenous peoples know that there are 13 moons. Like, this isn't something that's secret. It's just something that is observed in the cosmos, and it's truth. And we know truth. That's the verb that we associate with truth, is that we know it. So with the Igbo calendar, it just so happens that what I found was that the third week of February is when the Igbo New Year starts. It's February 27th right now, and it's a new moon. And the Igbo calendar always starts on a new moon. It makes sense to. So I believe that the new year is starting right now. Like, it's starting tonight, which is incredible to me. It's incredible to me because I'm having my Saturn return right now. Saturn is at like 20 degrees of Pisces for right now in the transits. And my Saturn is actually at 18 degrees Pisces. So I'm having my return. I'm on my way out of it finally. And I love Saturn. I love Saturn. I love me some Saturn. But I'm just like, what have I learned? You know, what have I learned from this? And I feel what I've learned is that I'm still integrating a lot of it, to be honest with you. And I'm still putting it to words, a lot of it, to be honest with you. But I'm still figuring it out. I think one thing that I learned is that on some level, everybody is just still figuring it out. We're all still figuring it out. We're all still finding our calling in some way. And it's sort of a lifetime thing. The video I was watching today that mentioned the trees and mentioned the seeds was about Odinani, which is Igbo spirituality, cosmology, mythology, all of those different words, right? And what he was saying about the creative process was that if you attempt and dive into the creative process with the mindset that you're going to create something, then you won't be as much in a state of flow as if you just treat it as a way of life and a way of being and a way of just being who you are. Because that is really what that creative process is. It's just a matter of like making stuff, making music, art, whatever you want to make, and being yourself. That's what it means really to be a creator. It's not about like creating something and then like not creating anymore, not doing that anymore. But it's a process. It's a process. And if you want a link to his YouTube channel, I'll put it in the description. Yeah. So with my Saturn return, as I was saying, I think that's like the main thing too that I've learned is that you have to not be attached, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you have to not be attached to the fruits of your labor, but you have to be the tree itself. You can't be attached to the outcome, because what comes out of it is of its own creation. Khalil Gibran said that children may come from us, but they are not ours. And I feel that way completely about my kids. They are their own people. I don't own that. And even the tree, the tree lets these pine cones go. these seeds, drops these seeds. It doesn't hold on to them. It lets them go. And, you know, with the right luck, with the right animals consuming them, with the wind, with the elements moving them around, these will go and be planted somewhere else. And they will be able to be their own tree. And they'll be able to create their own life for themselves. And that's a really beautiful thing. And I think that's the destiny of all creatures. That's the best thing that we can do, is create fruits for others to consume and for others to benefit from. And and it's so not even about being meticulous about it and stuff like that. And especially with our South Node in Virgo right now, it's really not about being perfectionist about it, but it's about being in a state of flow. And with our North Node, obviously, in Pisces, right? It's about being in a state of flow and letting it happen. And letting the divine God, however you define God, I define God as God. I like to call God God, because to me, God stands for a great omnipresent divinity, right? So letting God move through you and work through you, and no one really knows that better than Pisces, you know? No one knows that better than Pisces. Yeah, so I feel really good about where I'm going in life. I do. And there are times when I don't feel good about it. And when I'm not feeling, when I'm frustrated with, you know, choices that other people have made that have affected me. And it's hard for me to handle those emotions. It's hard for me to handle them in a way that doesn't just spit fire everywhere, spit my own inner fire everywhere and waste it. But I've been coming back to just sitting up straight, relaxing, and breathing really calmly. And I breathe really calmly to the point where I can feel my heart beating. And that's when I know that my inner fire is doing what it needs to do. And I'm not influencing it in any way that is diminishing it, making it small, or that is making it too big and lashing out, right? Something else that's happening right at this time, fascinatingly so, is that I'm also having my Mercury return, which is amazing. I was like, what, right now? Because, you know, it's funny because on January 6th, I had my lunar return and my Venus return on the same day. So now I'm having my Saturn return, well, the last leg of my Saturn return, and my Mercury return on the same day too. So it's pretty fascinating stuff to me, definitely. I feel personally that there's a lot that's happening for Christian Yalahia Proud. I feel that personally, like there's a lot happening for Cloud the Dragon Sage. And I'm really figuring out how I can offer the fruits of my learning, of all my interests, applying my interests and recording what I have learned and letting it out and letting it do what it wants to do and letting whoever wants to eat it, right? Whoever wants to benefit from it, and not being attached to it, because I can't give you the seed or the fruit if I'm holding on to it still. And we can't even have that exchange if I'm still holding on to my crafts and my creations. So a big part of that has to do with letting go. And Mercury is really important for me because Mercury is my chart ruler. I'm a Virgo rising. Mercury is my chart ruler. And I've been, like, I had a strange kind of relationship with Mercury. But I've been learning to love Mercury a lot more. Mercury being the closest planet to the sun and the fastest, moving around the sun in just 88 days. It's pretty fascinating to me. But I feel like I always wanted to be like Venus ruled. I always like idealized what Venus was and what Venus represented. And even when it comes to Mars and my Mars placement, which is in Leo, with my Mars, it's like I felt like I couldn't control my Mars. I felt like I feared my Mars. I really did. And I didn't know how to harness it. Just like I was talking about that inner flame, like I would let my emotions get out of hand and flare up. And my Mars is in the 12th house or the 11th, depending on which house system you use, by the way. But I would let those flames go off. And then also, I would allow myself to be diminished, allow my inner flame to be diminished and smothered by other people and their demands and what they wanted, or what I thought they wanted, but they didn't even really want. So with Mars, I have an interesting relationship, and I'm getting to know Mars more and more. My next solar return chart, which happens March 30th, 2025, I turned 30 on the 30th this year. Scorpio is on the ascendant at that exact solar return. 10 degrees, 12 minutes Scorpio. And this Pisces new moon is at 9 degrees, 40 minutes Pisces. So those two are trining. My ascendant for my next year, my next solar year, is Scorpio at 10 degrees. So that's trining this new moon right now. And this new moon being at 9 degrees, 40 minutes is also semi-sextile, which is half of a sextile, which is 30 degrees, which is exactly one sign away from my natal sun degree, which is in Aries at 9 degrees, 42 minutes. Now it starts to get trippy though, looking at my progressed moon. My progressed moon is at 9 degrees, 42 minutes Taurus. So my progressed moon is exactly semi-sextile my natal sun right now, at this moment in time. Pretty interesting, because we have a story happening right now. And also with the North Node moves backwards. So with that North Node moving backwards, I'm expanding the story itself. I'm realizing that I don't have to go in sequential order. I can go in a circular order, in a cyclical order, and that's the natural way of things anyways. Like with the tree, like with the growth of the tree. The tree, there's not a beginning and an end to life, right? The seed itself, like this will make other seeds if it chooses to, if the divine God chooses to. And it's no hard feelings if it doesn't too, you know? But yeah. What else was I gonna talk about? I feel really supported here by this tree. I do. There was a name that came through. Starts with a D. There are a lot of spider webs here on this tree too. I love spiders. See if we can see any little visitors. But there are plenty of webs over here. It's very beautiful. And you know something about like Mercury also? Another thing definitely about Mercury is the communication factor. Because there were times when I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to communicate in childhood. And even there were also times when my communications were not appreciated or were not heard by my guardians. And I was even expected to lie to myself about who I was growing up. So my communication there was really faltered. And I had to really, I thought and I felt that I was convinced that I had to be somebody who I wasn't. And now with this Mercury return happening right now, and me filming this video and everything, I'm getting to know myself better. And in Babylonian astrology, Mercury's name was Nabu. And I immediately thought of Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, and the planet of Nabu. And I love the way that word sounds, Nabu. I just love the way that word sounds. And the jungle planet itself, the fact that it's a green planet and Mercury is green as well. I just thought that was pretty interesting. And, you know, there are endless timelines that are happening at any given moment, endless time circles that are happening, endless time spirals, if you want to get even really specific with it, that are happening at any given moment, at any given point in time. There are timelines, there are dimensions, whatever you want to call them. There are parallel realities, whatever you want to call them, because they all, you know, where there are versions of this place, of where I am right now, of this now moment, where the planets revolve around the sun. There are versions where the planets are interdimensional gateways, stargates. And planet means wandering star. So that's pretty cool too. And you know, as I'm going through this period of being without shelter, I'm also learning to look back up at the stars themselves. And that has been an eye-opening, heart-opening experience, especially when you're alone. There's a really amazing gift that you can receive when you're alone, when it's just you and God and your spirit guides and your spirit team. There's nobody else, because you're not trying to be anybody else. You're just being you. You cannot not be you, right? When I looked up at space, I saw that Mars was right in between the twins of Gemini. And the stars Castor and Pollux were right up here and Mars was right here. And I just found that really beautiful, that Mars was right there. And especially with my relationship with Mars in the past, and with like being sort of afraid of my power in that way, not owning my power. Yeah. And then there's also this thing where I was not owning my power, but yet I was getting frustrated at those who would abuse their power. So that's a dilemma because if I'm not owning my power and showing up how I need to show up, how am I going to get mad at other people who are less qualified than me, but who are willing to show up with that courage? And courage is something that comes naturally to me anyways. It's just a matter of activating it and being real about it, being real about myself, you know? Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for now.